The full statement that wait, was that what the full quote, the one that was released by On3, the options that you've presented with develop Payton, develop Holden, develop Hank, develop Walker, or go spend $1 million on this guy. I just couldn't bring myself to doing that because I wanted to pull all the pieces together. So he actually articulated what the point was, and this is why we're juxtaposing the two against one another and why we're talking about this. Hugh's point, again, it's the same thing as Brian Kelly's. And there's a lot of truth to this, why I opened my statement on Brian Kelly, why I agree with the premise. I just didn't agree with the wording. And what Hugh says is 100% true. I think too many coaches are trying to stick bandages on rosters these days. And we, as media folks, admittedly, and we need to really hold ourselves back from doing this so often, we applaud a lot of these teams that are active and successful in the transfer portal. There are going to... We do it way too much. And there's really a finite number of teams that know how to find cohesive success. And there's usually indicators of why certain teams are successful because they develop at key positions. And the guys that they bring in are ancillary. They're supportive. They're additional cogs to a machine that's already been built. So what Hugh is saying, if we try to start this with a rental, we're not going to build a successful process. We need to try to develop before we jump.
Look, you know what's so crazy? Here's what the crazy thing about what you just said. What? I beg anybody from a national perspective to go watch the 30-minute clip for BK. You know exactly what you just said is exactly what he said in the 30-minute video. And what's funny is the however is what got clipped and then went viral. It's so crazy that you say that because that's what he said. Let me say this. How do I want to say this without sounding like a crazy person? I have a theory, and some people are going to call it conspiracy theory, but I don't. Let me just say it like this. I know what I know. I think BK ran out there and said what he said because there is some chatter that is out there that maybe or maybe not, that he wanted it out there like that because he was sending a message to higher ups because of some things that are happening.
Higher ups where? At LSU, in the NCAA, NCAA,
okay. SEC. And I think it's funny that Nick Saban, who, by the way, was not asked this question, at a golf tournament said, I back what Brian Kelly said. So I know you're going to say I'm wrong, but I'm going to caution you on this. I'm not really thinking. There is some chatter, and I'm going to tell you something. I will put, as Josh Payton did, I'll put a red nose on. Don't be surprised in the next 6 weeks if there's not massive college football news.
Oh, I can say with certainty that there is that there's a deadline for the settlement within the next month.
Okay,
so that's where that 6 weeks comes into play. There is a deadline.
Let me clarify. Let me clarify. I think that has a big thing to do with it, a massive thing to do with it. But I think that there's going to be more that the conferences are going to do. How about that? I will put it a step forward that I think that conferences are going to really put something forward in the next 6 weeks. And there is a deadline on this case, and I think that they're all going to follow. I have a very good suspicion that all conferences are going to meet in the middle and say enough is enough.
Yeah, no, I'm 1,000%. We've said some tinfoil hat-ish stuff on this show before, and we've yelled at each other on like what can possibly work.
Our tinfoil hat, in fairness, I'm not backing off on this. Our tin hat stuff has not really come out to be false. So you
think of the best example of something like that we.
Okay, I'll give you one. You ready? Jaden Rashada.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, we were right about that. Yeah,
me saying, hey, listen, I am hearing from people Jaden Rashada is not being offered that type of money. Then we come out to find out he wasn't getting paid that. He wasn't being offered that kind of money. Same with Nico Iamaleava. Sorry, I'm saying your last name wrong. That's how I'm going to continue to say it. Mm-hmm. So again, it's Joe. When actions meet, when words meet action, it's this business that we do, Joe, is not difficult. Coaches are not rocket scientists. They're not in the CIA. Okay, they're football coaches. I mean, they're not the smartest human beings of all time. Some of them are highly intelligent, but I'm just saying their actions are going to. Some of them are dumb. And when I picture of a coach, the picture I have in my mind right now is Butch Jones.
To not get too, too overarching,
rambunctious.
No. That just like to not get too wide angle with our conversation. To bring it back to Hugh, do you think it's in their best interest for him to say, we're going to trust Payton Thorne? And the quote that he also had in addition to this is, I'm a believer in Payton. Obviously, I know that, quarterbacks, they're either going to take praise or criticism. There's nowhere in between. He certainly has his good and bad moments, but I do believe with better pieces around him that he has the ability to be a great leader and a really solid quarterback in this league. And we talked about this a little bit recently when we did our deep dive.
Yeah.
What did you think about those comments?
Well, you know what I thought. We talked about it in the deep dive. I don't think Payton Thorne's going to be as bad as last year. I think he's going to be better, and I think he's going to be more serviceable. I think you're going to get to Payton Thorne when Michigan State went on that 10-game run, right? Like I do believe that that's what you're going to get because he does have. Joe, we saw him doing it in a really tough conference in the Big Ten. Yeah. I think that he can come in here and do that. I think what we do way too often, either we put him in, and this isn't a shot at you, I swear to God it's not, but we as fans, all of us, every single one of us do this. We either look at somebody as a prospect and they can't flip the hat at looking at a quarterback like, hey, man, you got to give a guy time. Sometimes at that position, you got to give time, patience, like the same thing we said about Jaden Rashada going to Georgia. But I think the other thing here is, too, is like, hey, man, you can just be a really solid college quarterback. Okay, and I think that he is going to show. I personally believe like he's going to do that. And here's what I would say. Do you really think that Auburn, of all places, would like if Hugh really needed a lot of money to go get a quarterback with all of the stuff that he had, if he really needed it, and didn't have that much or at least some faith in Payton Thorne, he would have done it. He 100% would have done it. So I do have a little bit more faith than others in Payton Thorne. I might be wrong. I'm not like putting all my chips in, but I'll throw a $25 chip on the table and see what happens.
I just think in general, and we talked about this with the Auburn deep dive, I think it is in a team like Auburn's best interest to try to develop, because they're not at the point yet where a Cam Ward would immediately put them into a national championship winning sphere. Like there is work that still needs to be done. The real future is when Walker White takes over and when he's the starting quarterback. But to your point, it does take time. There are very, 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 very few instances of elite quarterbacks who step in 1 year immediately and play lights out. It took Jane Daniels 2 years to get to where he was. It's a perfect example.
It's crazy. It took this guy the same amount.
Takes time. It is not a overnight process. It is the hardest position to get acclimated situationally. And
can I tell you two others that might be more Payton Thorne-ish in a way? Maybe one's bad because he was a first-round pick.
Don't. Oh, I thought you were going to say Graham Mertz in terms of guys.
No, I was going to say, remember how bad Stetson Bennett was at times in 22, but was so much better in 23? Like,
I don't know if it's a good example because he was at Georgia a pretty long time.
Okay, J.J. McCarthy. I mean, J.J. McCarthy from the first.
I think the better example would be Bo Nix because like Bo Nix.
Okay, well, Bo Nix. I mean, that's fine. Name them, but Joe, they can. But again, goes to the point. At that position, you got to give so much patience, man. You can't just pull a guy because he has a bad outing. Sorry. It is what it is. I mean,
perfect example with Bo Nix, where you remember that Georgia game that it was his debut, and he got embarrassed. Like, forget how Oregon played. He got embarrassed. He played like dog ass, and he got smoked the whole game, like one of his worst games in his career. And everybody immediately runs to Twitter, and they're laughing. This guy stinks. Why did we think that Bo Nix was going to do fine in Oregon? Everyone was laughing their asses off. And then week by week, he got better, to the point where at the end of last year, he's at the first round pick at the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Right. Yeah, it is one of the positions that I think that we overly – Zach Wilson, different perspective, but same example. We are impatient with the results, but sometimes we just need to give some of these players time to figure out what they can capably do.
We are not packed into a tiny office, Studio One Live. Can I tell you something without you and us going down a deep dive here? You know who, what I was always just trying to say about this one quarterback? What? His name was Anthony Richardson. Because sometimes guys need more time, and especially they need more time in college. Here's the truth, man. I think the kid, if he would have come back last year, he could have won the Heisman. Like, I believe that.
Yeah. Well, maybe not under Billy, but.
Well, I mean, I will tell you, I did start a dynasty. I think I told you this before, a dynasty season on Madden with Anthony Richardson because I love to run the football. And I couldn't go use Lamar mainly due to the fact that I couldn't beat Joe Burrow 2 times a year. My heart couldn't take it.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.